And I think we are live. Let me double check that. I believe we are good. So welcome back, everybody. How's it going? My name is the Crypto Analyst, otherwise known as Brendan. It is my pleasure to be able to do some technical analysis with you guys today. I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from. And of course, welcome back to the channel. Now, I was not able to do my live stream on Sunday like I normally do. It was one of my best friend's birthdays, and I did want to make sure I spend some time with him. But I am making that up right now. We are still going to be having the weekly live stream this Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. But I wanted to make sure I made up for missing last week's one, because even if I am not, consistently uploading videos, I want to make sure I at least get these live streams out, especially on time like this. Now, nothing really has happened too significant. I do need to send the notifications out. So let me actually go ahead and do that right now. Well, I actually missed my link here. There we go. If you guys are just tuning in, welcome. I am currently sending out the notification to everyone, and especially everyone in the Discord, and then we're going to go ahead and move on in further here. But basically what I was saying is I missed the weekly live stream last Sunday, so I'm going to make that up right now, and we're still going to have one coming up this Sunday. So welcome back, everybody. It's great to have you, and of course we're going to be doing some Bitcoin technical analysis. Like always, I want to give everyone a minute to 3 minutes to join in here, so I don't just get on and then I end up getting a lot of the same questions. So I'm going to give everyone a minute or two to join in, and then I'm going to go ahead and dive on into this. Now, in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about some stuff related to Bitcoin that really isn't the meat and potatoes of the conversation. That being, why hasn't there been a lot of videos lately? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but Bitcoin has quite literally been moving sideways for like a week now. I mean, when is this? I mean, today's the 19th, and since pretty much the 7th, so over a week. Yeah, over a week now, it's just been going sideways. I mean, there really hasn't been any content to even talk about in here. I mean, Bitcoin's moving up and down within like $100, $200 range for about a week and a half. So with that being said, now some interesting stuff has happened on Bitcoin, and this is when I want to go ahead and start diving on into like what I find significant in here, because I definitely have been getting a lot of questions. Do I think that this is going to break up? Do I think that this is going to break down? Where do I think that this is going to go? Let me actually go ahead and take a look at these indicators and oscillators real fast. I need to look at some of these. Actually, I have them measured out on the daily time scale. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into this. Now, why am I making a video now? Why do I think that this is significant now? I think it's very obvious, guys. This is the resistance and support lines that we have drawn up in here. Of course, overbearing resistance. Actually, we have to add another circle in here. Now, why? Because we have another touch point and a possible rejection right in here. What does this mean? Well, we do have this guy coming up, this wick actually wicking up here, seeing rejection from the top of resistance once again, and immediately falling back down, creating this wick under the EMAs, which is very, very important in my opinion. So what is this telling me? I think that this is still telling me it's bearish until bullish. And what do I think that's a really cliche statement, but what does bearish until proven bullish mean? Well, really that as long as it's underneath this overall downtrending support line, resistance line, is going to be bearish until it breaks above this point, and I will continue to be bearish until it breaks above this point. Now, we can see that this support line over here is still working just as well. Again, 1 bounce, and then 2 bounce, and now 3 bounce, and 4 swing low bounces, all coming off of this guy, and now we actually have 5 rejections from resistance. An incredible squeeze on the price action of Bitcoin. Now, overall, I do see this as an overall bullish formation, a continuation pattern, because this is coming up and then forming a pennant, which to me, is more verified right now than the descending triangle, because of the fact that we have the last 2 bottom bounces, the last 2 swing lows rather on Bitcoin have been from this bottom of this symmetrical triangle and not from the bottom of the descending triangle, which are 2 very, very different formations. So since the symmetrical triangle is getting used instead of the descending triangle, this is actually leaning towards a more bullish formation now, and actually saying that that the price could break out. All of this is kind of saying that this is actually going to possibly be a squeeze towards the upside. We see very nice buying pressure in here. We saw this again over in here on these dips. It's getting bought up very, very fast, and it is actually leaning towards me believing that this is actually going to break out towards the upside. Now, if I'm leaning towards it breaking towards the upside, and I think that the squeeze is happening up there, and that this is a possible bull pull bull flag scenario, why am I bearish until proven bullish? Because I think that that's just the safe option here, to be quite honest with you. The reason why I think it's a safe option is because this could very well break the support and immediately go back into being a descending triangle with one bad move. I mean, if it retests this line again, it's still very possible it breaks it breaks out of the symmetrical triangle and immediately reforms this descending triangle that it has. So why am I, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but why am I looking at this bearish until proven bullish? Well, guys, until it breaks this resistance line, there's really no reason for me to be bullish. Now, it can break this very soon and to be honest, very easily. I mean, this pressure is going towards the upside right now, and that's no doubt. I mean, this is 5 rejections long right now, and it could very well be getting ready to break on this one. So I think that this fifth, I don't know what the word would be. Retest, I think that's the word I was looking for. The 5th retest in here could definitely be looking for a breakout. I mean, volume is definitely starting. I want to say it's starting to pick up. I mean, you're starting to get more consistent buying pressure in here, at least on the recent time scales. But I think that this could actually be looking towards, a possible breakout scenario on Bitcoin. Now, if I did think it was going to break out, where do I think that it's going to be? I think immediately, $12,200 is going to be one of my immediate touch points. Anywhere around this $12,000 level, I think is an immediate price target for Bitcoin, just because it's the most recent swing high that isn't like right at this $10,900 level. Again, you have a rejection in here and you have a rejection in here, kind of like a double top scenario, but I think that it should be able to break through that without much trouble. I think, again, once it starts getting higher up at some of these higher swing highs, Bitcoin's going to have a little bit more problems. Craig, welcome to the chat room, or welcome to the live stream. Greg, welcome to the live stream. I got notified. Great to have you in here, Greg. Poker Throat, also always a pleasure. One of the the longest time supporters that I have on this channel, and I really appreciate it. So with all these things being said, again, this is technical analysis. There are a million aspects that you have to consider, and then you kind of have to just play probabilities and odds. Much like I hate to use this example, but much like gambling and sort of gambling, much like poker and blackjack and stuff, you get the probabilities down to say, all right, well, because of this factor and this many cards on the table and this many cards that have been used, and this is what this guy has shown. Based upon all these different factors, you kind of create a percentage of what's going to happen, and then you go with the percentages in your favor. So that's kind of what technical analysis is as well, because you're considering so many different factors, and then going with whatever one's swinging the odds. Basically, whatever one is, shows the best chance of breaking out in that direction. So hopefully that was a good explanation. But basically, what I was saying is the fact that this is uptrending and then now forming this symmetrical triangle, and the squeeze is happening towards the upside. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was going to break out over here. If it breaks this resistance level, I'm definitely going to be very, very bullish on Bitcoin. But a very clear resistance line, it needs to break. If it does, an extremely bullish case scenario for Bitcoin if it breaks this. Because not only would this mean the symmetrical triangle breaking out, but also what this would mean is that this falling channel of sorts that we've also had 1, 2, 3 touch points on support. We haven't actually seen a touch point on the bottom of this guy in a while, so ideally I am starting to believe that it will break out here. But if it does break out here, again, measured move for the symmetrical triangle and the falling channel, both very, very large. So that is exciting. Needs to break this point. If it doesn't break this, obviously all of that doesn't mean anything. So let's go ahead and look at some of the indicators and oscillators on, I believe, the 1 day and the 3 day, because that's where I had my stuff already previously drawn up on. So let's go ahead and look at this. Yep, this is what I was looking at. So this is the MACD on the 1 day chart, for those of you guys who don't know. Craig says he's glad to be here. Big Daddy, welcome. Michael Art says, imagine the amount of money you need to break all those high lows. People are waiting to get their money back. You need parabolic hype to break that, I think. All those high lows. Higher lows? Michael, if you could rephrase that just so I can get a proper understanding. I don't want to misrepresent what you were trying to get at there. But I think you were saying the amount of money to break all those higher swing lows. I think that's what you're getting at. But if it is or it isn't, just reaffirm me there. what I was saying is that basically what's happening over here on the MACD, it's pretty clear and obvious. Anyone can tell here that there is losing levels of negative momentum over here. In the short term, yes, it is losing levels of positive momentum, but I think that this is one of those things where you zoom out, you see the squeeze happening on the one-day MACD. Sorry, I was reading chat. And what I'm kind of ideally looking for here is this guy to come down, form a sense of triple bullish divergence, and then ramp up over here. So this double bearish is going to play into triple bullish, and so it's one of those things where some people call it secret bullish divergence because of the fact that in the short term it looks bearish, but this is actually in a macro scheme bullish. And that's kind of the belief that I have here on the one day, is that this could very well be a form of so-called secret bullish divergence. Let me just, sorry guys, my phone is going off. Let me make sure that I'm not missing out on anything right here. I do have business calls and stuff that I need to make sure. All right. And so that's what I'm kind of looking at over here, is essentially for this to be short-term bearish, long-term or mid-term bullish, and for this negative, which is pretty much already gone and dried up here in the most part, in my opinion. It could definitely be looking at a breakout scenario. Now, what's happening over here is this I think this is actually meant for the 3-day. Sorry. This one's meant for the 3-day. I have all my charts set up so weirdly. This is something that I want to look at something that I find very, very cool. So one of the most popular areas on the 3-day when trading wise, it's a very, very simple thing. Peak points, how do you say that? The peak points. So here, I'll go back to that and then I'll get into this. There we go. So these peak points up here are called the lower swing highs because these are all swing highs, but since they're all swing highs, the way to identify them is by lower swing highs because each swing high is consecutively and consistently lower. So I would just call all of these the lower swing highs. The amount of money that it would need to break these lower ones isn't that much. Now, once you get up here, the amount of money that you would need to start breaking stuff up here would be more. So pretty much here's the you have two kind of forms of resistance when it comes into the cryptocurrency market. You have the immediate resistance because of the forms that basically because of leveraged exchanges, and even non-leveraged exchanges. But you have your immediate one for day traders, and then you have your far one for swing traders. And then you kind of have this median in between where it can kind of just fly around. So essentially what happens is if it breaks the leverage traders, because all these leverage traders are betting high amounts of money on a leveraged position, and so they all have liquidation prices, and most of them don't have liquidations, or most of them don't have orders layered all the way up here. This is where the swing traders are. They have probably orders anywhere from here up until this, like, what is this, around 10.9k to 11k, right in this area. Above this area, as someone who did a lot of leverage trading, there's not going to be a lot of orders stacked up, as there's going to be consistently more orders stacked in between here and here. Let me go ahead and highlight this. In between, like, here and here, this is where all the bunches of orders are going to be towards the upside, rather than up in here. Why? Because this is the immediate price action and this isn't. So if you can knock out all these leverage traders, all these short orders and stop losses and everything, if you can get out of all these stop losses and trigger all these guys, you kind of have room to run until the bears catch back up and say, okay, let's start getting back into this thing again. And that's kind of the way it works. Not completely, but to keep things simple, short, and understandable, that's the way that it works. Then, of course, as you start getting up here, you start having more swing traders, and you even have leverage traders up in here, but you start having more swing traders up in here saying, all right, well, this is previous high, so we are going to be taking profits up here. Or you have leverage traders saying, all right, well, we're going to actually start shorting up here. And so that's why you start having sell walls and things like that. What was I saying? Peak points. Oh, yeah, so peak points. Lower swing highs. This is kind of in these areas, in between these areas, you kind of have areas to run. You knock out these day traders, and you have rooms to run in between there. And then you start dealing with swing traders. But again, I think that these guys are going to be a little bit more harder than in here. I think you're going to be having hard resistance up top, not too much in the middle, and probably a lot in the short term. So if it breaks the short term, I think that it certainly can start running up in price. But that's just my thoughts on it. Again, it's all about breaking because you'll also start having, again, in my opinion, if from a psychological standpoint, if it breaks overbearing resistance that's been kept in a lot, if it breaks that, no one's going to be wanting, or not very many people are going to want to hold shorts, right? If you have a breakout of price from a very, very clear resistance line, it's hard to argue. I think it's impossible to argue, in my opinion, that this isn't a resistance line. I mean, you saw the price get rejected and then rejected and then rejected, multiple times in here, another rejection, another rejection. It's hard to say that, oh, well, all of a sudden this line breaks and people are like, well, this is incredibly bearish. That's the opposite. If this line breaks, people are going to be like, shoot, our heaviest resistance line in this entire zone honestly, the heaviest resistance almost of the year just broke. Not of the year, but like, you know what I'm saying, the immediate future or the immediate past, That's basically, that would cause me to say, okay, I'm getting out of my short position, because if this resistance is strong enough to break, then these guys probably are too. And so I'd be getting out psychologically. So a little bit of a rant. Let me go back to the 3-day and I can go ahead and explain what I was talking about, because I found this really cool. I actually found this a little while ago. So, what are we talking about here? Thumbs up. We got 11K it will break in 4 hours. I think that's what you're saying. I think to 11.2, it's very possible. Very possible. It just has to break that resistance point before it wants to do anything. If it can't break that resistance point, then we can't talk about any upside scenario. But let's go ahead and talk about this. This is something that I found very intriguing, and you might as well too. I've talked about this before, but again, something so cool. So up here on the RSI, around this 89 to 90 range, it's a very consistent point of resistance and rejection on the 3-day chart of Bitcoin. And down here around this 45 to 46 area, you have this very established support line. Now, why this is, I can't tell you, but it just so happens to be that it's, very often bouncing off this zone. So let me go ahead and kind of delete some of these, and then we can go through and really highlight this. Excuse some of these other lines. If you see lines like this, they're just going to be from other time zones. I don't know why, but if you adjust your time zones, it just looks really, really bad. Like there's just random stuff over here. So what I wanted to talk about over here is just this zone itself. So what happened, it came down to this area, and I've highlighted them with orange lines so it's easier to see. Came down to this area over here, bounced off, went right up to the same resistance point, came right back down, bounced off the same support line, came right back to this resistance point, back to support, back to resistance, almost back down here, double bottomed actually on the RSI, back to resistance. Now this was a unique time frame. This was around when this massive stuff started happening. You can see this on the RSI, the initial breakdown when Bitcoin went all the way to 3K. You see this actually break. Now what happened over here when it broke? It actually came back up, retested this line, and then hooked. So I don't like using candle formations in indicators and oscillators because I don't think that they're very applicable. But this is, if you want to look at it this way, I think this is a scenario where you possibly could. Right? So basically what I'm trying to say is the break, the hook, and then the go. Something that's very constant in technical analysis. I don't like using candle formations and analogies of them on other stuff like indicators and oscillators, but I think that this one kind of works. So it broke back into this zone, and where did it go to? Well, maybe the area over here where it's constantly seeing rejection came right back up to this 89 range on the RSI on the 3-day, and then where is it coming back down to? Well, right into the same support level that we've seen so often over in here. Now, does this mean that it's going to for certain bounce to the upside? The answer is no. Nothing's for certain, but as someone who likes doing historical analysis and looking at where it bounced from the past and where it might bounce from in the future, anywhere down in here, I'm way more bullish on Bitcoin than I am bearish. Because historically, it bounces off this range. Now, not always, as we've seen, but historically, it bounces off this range and will ideally head back up. Now, are we just going to copy and paste this pattern? Probably not, but I think that this is where my risk management comes in and says that I'm more inclined to long down here than I am to short down here. And that's kind of the spot that I'm at right now. I would be more inclined to long than I would to short. So let's go ahead and look at some more. Give me a sec. All right. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. Helps out the channel a lot. If you guys have any questions, do not be afraid to ask them in chat. No question is a stupid question. And I promise that. As someone who had to go through this whole learning process, I assure you I had much stupider questions than you guys can ask. And I asked them. So, what do I think is going to happen on Bitcoin? Let's keep this short and simple. Let's kind of recap this. So now that I've explained everything that was happening, is happening, and let's kind of recap what I think is going to happen moving into the future. And then we can talk about Ethereum and some other stuff. And then take some requests if you guys want me to look at some altcoins. What do I think that's going to happen here? I think one, it's hard to say. Well, obviously, a very large move is coming. I mean, the squeeze is obvious. The squeeze is on MACD. The squeeze is on the RSI. The squeeze is very, very clearly on the candle charts and on the EMAs, which are looking like Bollinger Bands almost at this point. The squeeze is obvious, and with a squeeze, I mean, even on the volume, with a squeeze comes large price action, usually. Not always, but usually. You can't just squeeze something and not expect it to explode. Now, is it certainly going to explode? No, but, you know, I do believe that it will. I think most squeezes lead towards an explosion in one of two directions. This one, I think, is very... I have been leaning bearish on this, but I think that I'm starting to become more bullish on Bitcoin because of all of these factors. So, BTC in an uptrend, forming a pennant, a respected pennant at this point. These dips are getting bought up extremely fast. What looks to have been a bear flag scenario actually saw rejection and went right back up to resistance. This dip on Bitcoin over here wicked actually through support and immediately got bought back up. Now, it also got rejected from resistance, but I think the squeeze is still leaning towards the upside at this point. Again, RSI is down. MACD is looking, possibly bullish case scenario. So for all of those reasons and all the ones that I talked about today, I'm actually leaning bullish on Bitcoin here. Now, I'm bullish. Let me correct that. I'm bullish if it can break this resistance, and that's a very key thing. If it can't break this resistance, nothing matters, right? And I think most of us understand and accept that. But I think that I know it needs to break this resistance soon. A rejection in here would not be ideal, but I am still leaning bullish. I know I have that whole bearish as long as it doesn't break resistance. That's true, but I think in the macro here, this guy's looking good and possibly ready to make a decent sized move to the upside. So we'll see. I'm definitely kind of playing this by ear, not making anything too ambiguous, not trying to make anything too wacky or crazy. No crazy bets in right now, but definitely watching this guy because it's in a unique situation. It's not very often that you see Bitcoin get this deep into a formation without breaking out or breaking down. Most of the time, Bitcoin breaks out or breaks down around 75% of the way through. I mean, this guy's at about 90-something right now. So, with Bitcoin this far into a formation, it definitely has my attention. So, crypto slice of life. Welcome. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say on Bitcoin. Now, I do want to take a look at Ethereum over here before, and if you guys have any questions or TA requests, by all means, shoot those. Oops. Ethereum has been doing absolutely phenomenal. I mean, look at this guy. Come on. Did we not call this? I mean, okay, so here's the deal. We sort of called it. This was unique, to say it. So it broke it. This is a very unique scenario. So this was extremely hard because it broke yearly support number 1, saw break, hook, and go. Basically what happened, let me explain this because it's very clear. We can see this blue line as the secondaries, or really I guess the primary technically, but not the biggest support. Came over here, saw the breakdown. Over here, same thing happened. Break, hook, actually went back up, same thing happened, broke back down, came back up, the break, hook, and go scenario, and then actually fell through this support. So it was bouncing in between these two areas. We can see that over in here, again, highlighting these guys. Broke down, came up, rejected former support, and then continued to break down over here. Now, why was this significant? Well, the exact same thing happened over here. Broke through support, came over here, hooked, looked like it was going to be a breakdown scenario, but inside of all of this is this falling wedge, which is an extremely bullish formation pattern. With all of this happening, you could have argued that this is either a break, hook, and go towards the downside from support, from yearly support breaking, or you could have argued that this is a break, hook, and go from the falling wedge pattern, meaning that this was the break, or this was the bounce, the breakout, the hook right in here, again, hooking on the top of resistance. So it broke out, hooked on the top of on the top of previous resistance, now turned support, and then it started going, and then this was the sign that this was all turning around. The golden cross happened, it started heading upwards, broke yearly resistance back up, so now it's support again, broke yearly support, came back up here, and now it's just been flying ever since. So the falling wedge played out pretty beautifully. The way that it played out with yearly support was just so strange because that doesn't happen very often, not in my experience. The fact that it came over here hooked, I think it's a very hard scenario because of the way that the falling wedge played as a factor, and that's probably why. But very strange scenario that doesn't happen very often, that's for sure. Very difficult scenario, but broke out over here, looks really nice. And I know we talked about the bullish capabilities of Ethereum, and you know that played out very, very nice. Hard trade for sure, but you know it happens. Ethereum's flying. It's gonna start hitting resistance up here, but you know, doing great so far. Held exactly where it needed to as well. So the cool thing about Ethereum is that if it can break above like 237, really, if it gets above 240, it's free. I mean, look at this. I mean, it just has so much capabilities. Has obviously resistance right up in here. But if it can break that, then Ethereum can certainly see a nice little run up. What else do we got? Pretty much looking at potential bearish divergence on Ethereum. And that's pretty much summing it up, guys. So hopefully I did cover this. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to be able to answer those. But I think I covered most of what I needed to today. Most of my thoughts on the market. I've been getting asked a lot of questions about this, so I can just direct people at this video from now on. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. How long do we... Oh yeah, we didn't even go for half an hour. Perfect. So it wasn't too long of a video. I hate having like 2-hour-long live streams and then people asking me questions, and I'm like, just go watch the live stream, because then it's 2 hours long, and a lot of people don't have 2 hours, especially when I'm like reading chat and rambling and stuff. So 28 minutes, not bad at all. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. It helps out the channel a lot. Drop a comment or chat or whatever if you guys have any questions. Do not be afraid to shoot those my way. I love answering your guys' questions and interacting with you. There's plenty of people that can attest to that. I'm very active in Discord and stuff, and emails and all that. So, again, a lot of appreciation for everyone in here. Crypto Slice of Life, Rabbi, Michael R, Exodus, Craig, Poker Throat, Big Daddy, Greg, all you guys that have been interacting. I appreciate all of you guys coming in here today. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Again, the weekly live stream continues this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Look forward to seeing all of you guys there. I might have a video out in between then. I probably won't. I won't be around Friday, and I won't be around Saturday. So I'm guessing the next time I'll be putting out stuff is going to be at the weekly live stream. So I look forward to seeing all of you guys there. If you guys have any questions, shoot them my way, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Talk to you guys all very, very soon.